one. Tim Joyce.
Here we are, man. My friend, back in Barcelona.
It sure feels great. Back on my terrace. Hopefully you can hear me okay. I'm experimenting with sound on the terrace here.
Nice.
And but I'm gonna jump right in. So the deal of the week. Congrats.
Health Beacon,
Congrats.
Yeah.
Congrats on the $6 million. I know great job for you and the team. So nice.
Yeah. No, it's like a duck floating on the water, paddling ferociously underneath. Yeah, no, it's a big deal for us. Kind of, I think some of my strategy. It sets the stage for a bigger strategy, and then we just announced. We've had our first materially accepted peer-reviewed publication at the National Association of Specialty Pharmacists, where Health Beacon demonstrated a 19% increase in persistence to therapy. Under that. Yeah, it's major. So we actually that's just been accepted to the sister journal associated with that association, and so it's being published as we speak. I think today it's going into the journal. So,
awesome! Congrats.
The time,
so double whammy of the news, huh?
Good week for. Good week
for the Health Beacon crew.
Exactly.
I don't care about talking about any other deals. This is it. This Wednesday is it. So
are you following? I mean, deals are still flying. I mean, I'm getting so self-obsessed with my own situation. I'm kind of a little less certain.
I'll be frank with you. It's just been, what we discussed last time. It's just been between the business and then on the personal front and moving sort of, 8 suitcases back. Right. And the dog, I haven't I didn't even know that there is a volcano in Canary Islands going on. I had no idea until I landed here. So some of the news just escaped me. But anyway, so I don't know.
So the move was relatively smooth.
Oh yeah, actually that was smooth. I mean, even with our Frenchie, that was all cool. No, so we made it back, and then. Marina went to Florence right away to help our older one move into college there. So, and then, she's back as of this morning. We got to unpack. That's the flow for the rest of the week and through Sunday. And then kind of the new normal. So, speaking of,
I'm dying to get over to, I'm dying to get over to Barcelona. I need a bit of sunshine or a bit of, it's been a few weeks here.
Well, welcome anytime. Bring Emmy. I was just chatting with Marty yesterday as well. So, we might just pull a small event here or something. I don't know. Who knows? So we'll pull a bunch of people together. So come on in. I'm actually excited. And I know our guest is anxiously waiting in there, but I'm excited to head out to Boston and back. So I just landed, but in 2 weeks, I'm flying back to Boston for the Health Excel DTX, and then I'm sticking around for Health or HLTH. So
awesome.
And then we'll see a good portion of the crew in Dublin at the Health Excel event in Dublin. So things are picking up.
Yeah.
Now this is going to be a first for us as well. And no offense to the gentleman that's going to join us. I'm going to press the admit button in a minute. We did not run out of guests, but we would love to have him back because I think he's the inspirator and instigator, and I think he's working on something really cool as well. So as we were chatting, what, help us also recap the season. I know we're sort of shifting from 10 episodes and sometimes forgetting the recap to now 9 episodes plus 10th is being a recap, and who knows what the freak we're going to come up with next season, right? So I'm going to let him in.
Totally let him in. He's the granddaddy of digital health podcasting. You have to kind of pay homage to him every once in a while. Inspirer, amplifying the voice.
We're just saying not worthy. Look at that. You're in the Matrix. I love it.
I thought we all brought our special glasses for these conferences.
You,
You
you
guys had the
know,
rose-colored glasses. I saw your pit bull glasses there, Eugene. I thought we all wore sunglasses for these.
dude,
Well,
we
yeah,
didn't put,
like you're
we're meticulously
sporting it.
unproduced. If we all wore glasses, we would have been produced, Dan.
There's no costume department, huh?
No.
I like the
Welcome back.
background.
Dude, I'm in the matrix here because I'm looking forward to be
Yeah.
plugged in. This is such an experience to watch you guys. I mean, thank you so much for inviting me on, because it gave me a reason to sit down and do binge watching of the episodes that I missed, because I see these updates come out so regularly. In Wednesday evenings, I get an update of who you spoke to, and but I missed a couple. And so this gave me an opportunity to go back through, rewatch some of the ones that I had heard, but maybe wanted just to dive back in on some of the content. And yeah, it's good to see you guys. How are you?
Good to see you, man. Thanks for binge watching. We've got double our viewers.
Yes, exactly. And I'm back in my happy place, so that's also good. And before we let you in, we're saying we did not run out of guests to have. We just want you on as, and that's why I started going, not worthy. You're the instigator, inspirator, and yeah.
So was it 2 years ago? I mean, was it 2 years ago at JP Morgan, that famous, like, remember, like, a lot of our guests would just happen to all be in the one Irish pub, at JP Morgan.
That is so bizarre, Jim, that you say that, because I've been in this weird time warp trying to figure out how many years ago things were. And I'm saying, oh, was that 2020 or 2019? But it was 2020. So yeah, this January will be 2 years since we had that opportunity to get together and be at that crazy Irish bar.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome.
But before we go into an amazing recap, which I think, based on YouTube comments that Mr. Kendall made, I think this will be the most produced and prepared recap that we've ever done in the 6 season prior. So that I'm looking forward to. But before we go there, I think part of it is, I mean, just maybe talk, for the folks that didn't listen, maybe talk a little bit about the evolution of, digital health today, mission-based media. And I know there's, I think probably here first, and if not, that's okay, but sort of a new launch of another product that you're launching. Maybe take us through a little bit on,
100%.
Again, if people are just tuning in, briefly, who the heck you are.
Yeah.
Even though I think most people that watch us know you, but just to,
Okay, so
and then,
I'm happy to do that. But before we kick off, have we mentioned Matthew Holt yet? Because looking at all 9 episodes, apparently that's something that has to be done. So we might as well just get that in right away, right? Jessica DaMassa, Matthew Holt. Are we done?
Yeah. Okay, done.
Have we mentioned Frontiers Health?
And Martin.
And Marty.
And Health Excel. That was on my list.
Right.
We did that.
We did that.
Your coach has an event coming up.
Yeah.
We gotta make sure we mention that. We can always mention it twice if you've already done it. And I don't know if you've said it, but CNS Summit, man, that's one of the things that I look forward to.
AMIR, yes.
JP Morgan as well, but CNS Summit is back on. I'm not going to be able to make it, but that's happening in Boston this year instead of Boca Raton.
What are the dates? What are the dates?
I want to say
November
4th to 7th of November.
Okay.
From memory, but yeah, AMIR KALALI and the CNS crew. Gil Bash, I was thinking about that because
that's right.
Gil Bash is someone I always look forward to connecting.
Fin Partners are a sponsor. Yeah, I saw that Ritesh is doing. Ritesh also made a lot of mentions this season as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I mean, Dan, as like as the master of ceremonies here for digital health, is our events back? So our events back.
So I can jump into that. I don't know if I want to skip over what Eugene said, but I'm hoping so, because I miss you guys, man. I mean, it's great to be here in the Matrix and connect with you, but man, I'm ready to get back in person. I know that things are still a little bit skittish in terms of people not necessarily wanting to plan, but it looks like some things are going forward. And the events are happening. I just wish the travel and the vaccinations would follow suit, because I can get to Boston, but if I can't get back, that's an additional 10 or 14 days if I fail the test, that I'm not at home, I'm not away from my kids, away from my work, stuck in a hotel room in Boston for 10 days while I'm waiting to pass another COVID test. On a lot of levels, that could be a nice, relaxing holiday, but if you're stuck with COVID, it's not such a great thing for me right now. So hopefully we'll get back to it soon.
Okay, so who is Dan?
Okay, Dan Kendall. Hi, I'm Dan Kendall. Good to see you guys. Based over here, another American based over here in Europe, in the UK. I'm an engineer by training. I've spent 25 plus years now in health and technology and innovation, bringing products to market. Started a podcast in 2016 because nobody was talking about digital health in a podcast format. Very quickly began to develop a commercialization model that allowed me to sustain that business and begin to actually do that full time. Was not the intention when I started podcasting. It was really just to connect, like what you guys are doing, frankly, share information, introduce people to other folks, and make connections and learn along the way, exactly like you guys did when you started this. And then started to do more and more podcasting, started to get invited to do podcasts for other organizations. We now work with companies like Elsevier, Roche. We do some work with our sponsors like Takeda and Bayer and others. We're also working with now the American Association of Orthopedic Surgeons and some other top groups that we're working to create podcasts with. But one of the big problems when you create something like this is how do you get it heard? So we created Health Podcast Network as a medium, a connector between creators and listeners to be able to give people a place on the web where they can be discovered and where people can do the discovering around information that really matters. So to your point, Eugene, in terms of what else is happening, we just launched a second season of the Digital Health Today APAC edition.
With Tony, that's right,
man. I get so many emails every week, people asking for another season of digital therapeutics.
So do I. I do have to say, I just need more time. Yeah, I just need more time, and just never enough time. And
right.
But hey, you know,
that was. No, I was just gonna pay homage to both of you guys. Like on that one, like that was the combination of you two, like the production value, you know, the Eugene factor, the combination of it, like it was just really, you know, and like I'd say, like how many shows did you guys do on digital therapeutics today?
23 in total, but that I think included kind of the kickoff between you and I, Dan, right? Like sort of introducing me as the host, and you know, huge shout out to Mr. Dolan, Brian Dolan. Like honestly, without the exits and outcomes and the research that I used, and him popping in, that brought, I think, you know, sure you said Eugene factor, but this was like the level of detail that I needed that we don't have here, right? It's a very different show, obviously.
So
right on the detail.
Honestly, we get a lot of requests for that to happen again. It was such useful content as well, because that's such an area of the industry that's growing, that there's a lot of lack of understanding around what's happening in digital therapeutics. And as a matter of fact, sort of aligned with what you did there, I just heard on the episode that just aired today on Digital Health 101. So Professor Dr. Stefano Bini, as of today, 29th of September, his trailer's now out for Digital Health 101 as part of the Digital Health Today platform as well. So we're continuing to grow that with the work that Tony's doing for Asia Pacific, trying to sign Eugene for another season. Digital therapeutics, the talent, man. It's always the talent.
I pay him
Stefano Bini.
I pay him big money here.
Exactly.
It's a good work environment, Jim. I know. But then also the industry shifting. The technology around podcasts have shifted a lot since we last spoke. A lot of people took a bit of a setback in May, June, July, when Apple put out an update. So it changed the way that all the Apple phones downloaded podcasts. So a lot of the download numbers went down a little bit at that point, but they've been doing updates slowly, and people are beginning to creep back up in terms of syncing and subscribing to their podcasts. But also Apple's Sorry,
just a quick comment to Jim. You know, that's the beauty of it when you don't care to watch the numbers week to week. We just do it for ourselves and the crew.
Cheers, guys.
Oh, cheers. Yeah, cheers.
Yeah, cheers.
I was looking forward to this. I got the beer ready, and we're all set here. So,
but I think like just to buill on. I won't let you go. Like plug it in, but to build on like how I'm listening to podcasts. Like it's been such a funky year that like even how I'm discovering podcasts, how I'm building on it, and I feel like I have your relationship with them is maturing. So it's like you're kind of like in my mind, it's like who am I going to let into my head? You know what I mean? Like for like a half hour, like before it was kind of like, okay, the entertainment, information, you know, a bit of downtime, whatever the reason was, you know, a different area of interest. But now I'm like more selective, but discovery is very difficult. I feel like discovery of what you know, very difficult.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. And actually with Health Podcast Network, we're building that out more. Because we've been able to get groups like Health Excel is one of the sponsors of that. Microsoft, I'm gonna forget them off the top of my head here under the pressure. AAOS is another, and Bayer G48. So we've got pharma, we got tech, we got a professional surgical medical organization, we got a professional business organization with Health Excel, and we still have more people that are working to support Health Podcast Network, and we're working to build better search tools to do better outreach. Because there are as many people as there are listening to podcasts, there are a lot of people out there who haven't started to dip their toe in that water yet. And we can.
It's so hard to believe, right?
We can grow the market. Well, some people listen to a podcast, but then they're not necessarily regular listeners because they don't know what else they're finding, or they get introduced to, you know, crime drama or something, or news. I mean, I listen to a lot of news podcasts as well, just to sort of get my updates on what's happening. But finding this sort of information that you can really use in your work and stay up to date. I learned so much from the 9 episodes that I just listened to with you guys about, you know, funding rounds and events and changes and acquisitions and things like that. So a podcast could be a great platform for that.
I'm listening. I'm just going to turn the lights on here on the terrace. So keep moving.
And
this is the first time I walked away.
Yeah, exactly. So we're you know, we're talking about Health Unmuted, but where does it, like, just, you know, like where does it go now? Like, you know, so where do you think health, like you're making a bet that, you know, Health Podcast Network is going to be a discovery platform, right? And then it's more content. And, you know, don't you also feel like when you look at these series, it's like, you know, some of them have like an end of life. Like, it's like you go and start them. Like a lot of people start podcasts, but then don't maintain it, right? Like, I mean, so you have all this kind of like stopping and starting.
Yep. There's even a term for that. There's a term for that called pod fade.
Really?
Pod fade. I'll teach you guys a little industry jargon. Pod fade, and yeah, a lot of people don't get past 6 episodes.
6 is a lot
in terms of producing.
Okay.
Episodes. Yeah. So, I mean, if you look at the listener numbers, I think it's about 7 podcasts per week. What a regular podcast listener will listen to. But from a production standpoint, there are a lot of podcasts out there that they create 1, 2, 3 podcasts, and they realize, oh, this is actually more work than we thought. And look, we got 6 listeners, and I listened to it twice. My mom listened to it. So is it really, you know, it's hard to get out there. So guys that are doing it like you guys are up to 76 episodes, and you're really, really killing it. So I think that the, you know, micro niching, like we talked about last time, that will continue to happen. People being far more selective about what they invite into their head, into their ears, and making sure that they have that relationship. And frankly, I think length of the podcasts are also shortening. It used to be that you would try to time it for the length of an average commute in a market like the United States. Well, people aren't really commuting. So how do you get it through their grocery shop? You know, and you know, the 20 minutes it takes them to get through an errand or to get to the kid's school or whatever it might be. Try to get those things shorter so people can finish it and you can get them through the whole story in that period of time.
And what about production?
I was going to say, we're going to have to do this in 12-minute chunks now for the drive.
Well, I mean, actually, wouldn't that be an interesting thing, though? I know you don't want to get produced, but wouldn't it be interesting to take this and you know, break out Jim's question as a special episode that people could listen to separately, and it's 7 minutes about you know, something.
I think Ed Cliphouse challenged us to summarize like the last question that Jim asks every time, like what's, you know, what are people's answers on it? Like that could be its own, like, you know, what are the lessons learned for entrepreneurs, right? Like,
Yeah, like I wanted to summarize all the time every week when Eugene goes, Jim Joyce, and I was described back to me as kind of it was a comical and narcissistic, and
I have to say that is a fun thing to watch at the start of the videos, is when you see a second of Eugene, like, is it connecting? Jim Joyce. It's great.
It's that stupid announcement now with Zoom. It's like I gotta wait for that exit my other ear, right? So anyway,
but it's a wild, but it's still wild. Like, and the fact that there's no, it's kind of like, it's almost like Android. You can just, anyone can put the app out there, right? Like, it's like there's no quality filter on podcasts, and there's no, and then so you have this, either they overproduce, and then like you said, like, it's actually hard to get big numbers unless you put time into it, like you've done, or
Yeah. Yeah.
But honestly, just one big kudos, right? And this, not to, I think the DTX podcast, like, this is the power of the brand that you, Dan, have built with Digital Health Today and all of that. I mean, that was per episode in thousands, where, Jim, you and I are in hundreds, right? But I mean, that's actually still pretty good, right? I was dumbfounded by the fact that, an episode, I forget which one, was like 3.5 or 4,000. They're still coming, by the way, which is crazy to me.
Hundreds of thousands.
Hundreds of millions, Jim. Hundreds of millions for the shot. We got people everywhere.
The download numbers help to give some indication that things are moving in the right direction. But I try to get people to not be too caught up about the downloads, because you can get downloads and they could not be relevant. So it's really around trying to make sure that the audience that you're attracting and how you're attracting them, whether it's through your social media, your paid social media, your newsletter, your SEO, whatever it is, even the work that you do.
We got none of that, Jim.
We'll get there. We're going to work on it. We're going to get
like, nope.
Yeah,
we're like a really bad startup, and we're good at pitching.
Yeah, but I'll tell you. So two things around Digital Health Today, real quickly. Number one, Apple has started to allow us to do channels. So we have channels now. So there's a Digital Health Today channel that groups all the different podcasts, and I could bring it up on my phone to have a look at it. I won't do that now, but it's a good looking group of people. In my estimation, you got Eugene on there, you got Tony, we got Stefano, Bini, but there's a problem, and it's too male and too pale. So I wanted to ask your listeners, if you have people out there, we need to, like, I'm flattered, Eugene, that through the support of you and many organizations and people, we've been able to build this platform, but I want to share it. Like, I don't want to have, more white men like myself being the
absolutely agreed
behind this mic. So folks, if you're watching this and you have a story to tell, I want to have you on, whether you're a doctor, you're a nurse, you're a man, woman, child, I mean, whatever you identify as, whatever your experience is, I want to talk to you about how to do it. Jen Lannon, for example, she really wanted to create the femtech version of Digital Health Today. Unfortunately, she's just been so busy, she's not been able to really carve out the time for it. So what we're doing with her,
I think,
and like with Sophie
Savvy
Park,
Co-op, I think Savvy should do on the patients. Okay.
But Savvy Co-op is doing its own podcast. But what we're also doing is like, you guys have shown a massive commitment to this. What I also want to encourage people to do is to say, hey, just be a guest host. So Sophie Park, for example, guest hosted a conversation with Jane Sarasohn-Kahn.
Jane, yep.
And I said, hey, Sophie, you know this. Like, you want to talk about women's health. You know Jane. You know the topics you want to. Why don't you do the conversation? Don't tell me what questions to ask. You get on it. She did it. So, so Jen is going to do the same thing. She's going to guest host. I've got a few other people who want to guest host. So you don't have to bite off doing a podcast. Just get in touch with me and let me know what you want to talk about, who you want to talk to, and let's do something.
Fantastic. Love it. So spread the word, and everybody has a story. Yeah, let's get to Health Unmuted, and then we're going to do like lightning rounds.
Dude, you've got so much great content to get through. So Health Unmuted, short, I'm really pleased to be talking about it here with you guys. Came about from my own experience as a parent of a child with type 1 diabetes. Looked for a lot of information, turned to WebMD, the NHS, JDRF. I bonded with another name that you guys like to mention a lot in these episodes, Glenn Tallman, over his experience as a parent of a child with type 1 diabetes and the great things that led him to do in healthcare. Well, it inspired me to say, you know what, there's information that people need about chronic conditions and it gets passed along a lot orally here through conversations, through relationships, through introductions. Tony Estrella put me in touch with some of his friends who either had type 1 or had a child with type 1. And I thought there's got to be a better way to share this information. So that one idea around creating something for diabetes has sort of spawned this whole library called Health Unmuted, where we're creating distinct series around specific conditions or therapies, treatment areas, and saying, hey, we're going to bring in the patient voice, we're going to bring in experts, we're going to line up associations with commercial organizations, academic organizations, charitable organizations, and bring in the experts. Because we don't want to be the experts, but we want to create the platform to have these voices get shared and these stories to get told so that people can progress along their healthcare journey more rapidly by getting that information into their head more quickly.
Awesome.
Love it. And I know we kind of chatted, it's like a little bit of this like WebMD in your ear, right? Like, and I love that comparison to make it real for people, like, you know, as far as kind of searching or finding or listening, and back to, you know, where people are getting more and more into podcasting, right? We just spent minutes and minutes talking about it. Like, that's how we're now starting to consume information. It's like perfect timing. I love it.
Yeah.
Like,
so
I can't wait to check it out.
And professionals. So we have Health Unmuted Pro, which will also help to educate professionals, because we get a lot of inquiries from pharmaceutical companies and from other groups that want to reach out to GPs and say, how can we get in front of their, you know, we can't send our people out to detail them anymore. How do we get their attention to let them know about what's happening? How do we educate consumers, people, patients about what they're experiencing and things ways to have conversations with their doctors. And so working with COPD Foundation is one of the first groups that we've signed up. And that's thanks to an introduction from Eugene. So we're working with COPD Foundation using their content, their experts, their patient voices, and creating a whole series, 7 episodes to take people through symptoms, diagnosis, treatment areas, lifestyle choices, you know, the professionals that are involved. And in 7 episodes of about 15 minutes, they're able to have a concise thing that they can share with their loved ones, share with their coworkers, with their friends, to have people understand the journey that they're on.
And are you thinking that, is there, like, I mean, one of the things that it feels like that this intersection of, okay, giving people like voice or information, or, you know, sharing, sharing all the required information. If you have a condition, you're trying to treat a condition. What about all these digital health tech tools? You know, does that play into it? Does that sit on the other side of your podcast portfolio? Like, because I imagine if I was going on, like nowadays, if I, you know, the circumstances of finding out that your child is a diabetic, or you're a diabetic and you're trying to adopt this range of complex digital health tech tools, it seems like a little bit of a minefield, no?
Yeah, and that's where the partnerships work out, because we don't want to, I mean, I might know diabetes from my own family experience, but, you know, we don't want to displace or try to replace or replicate what some of these other organizations are doing. So we want to partner with those leading organizations. And for the diabetes type 1 podcast, we've already spoken with some great leaders, and we want to signpost people to those other resources. Say, hey, here's what the American Lung Association has to offer, and here's what this group around type 1 diabetes has, and this is where you can go. So it's in the audio format to tell people, hey, this is what this person found helpful, but it's also in the show notes and it's on the website. And yeah, to your point, we do have ideas about other things that we want to do to build a more robust tech tool, but you know what it's like with MVPs. We need to build something that's
sure 100%.
Then just a quick thought, and I know we talk a lot on sort of ideation, but you know, if you take, you know, diabetes as the example, I love your coffee talk concept on Digital Health Today, where that's a clearly sponsored episode, right? You can have like an Abbott CGM do a 20-minute coffee talk during the Diabetes Health Unmuted, as an example. So anybody from Abbott listening, just FYI, you know.
Go to healthunmuted.com. That's where you
That's
can
it.
find out
I
more.
was just going to say that.
The
Awesome.
website is up there, and would love to have you guys take a look at it. And you know, I'm excited about it. It's another opportunity to serve people by creating audio stories. We've got a great team. I'm working with a former BBC producer. There's another American based over here in the UK who's training to be a a journalist who comes from a regulatory policy background. She's doing a really bang up job, just really focused on the storytelling, the research. We've got Yvonne, who you've met, Eugene, who's doing a lot of the audio production. So the sound quality is great. We're sending microphones out to people. We've got great music that's going along with it. So it's really, it's not like what we're doing here where it's just a bunch of groups talking about stuff. It's actually a curated conversation, narrative story, highly produced, not unproduced.
Cool.
Okay, so what's our stream?
Let's do the lightning round, and so we got 9 people to recap, 9 episodes. And if you don't mind, Dan, I just want to actually this has never been done before on the shot, because Mr. Dan Kendall spent roughly, I don't know if you watch it at 1.5 times speed. I'm just gonna read his first comment on the amazing Gil Bash. Okay, I'm gonna read it, and then maybe Dan.
Gil Bash was number 1.
He was
number 1, episode number 1. Key takeaways by Dan Kendall. Gil has done it all and continues to reinvent himself. Rabbi, paratrooper, combat medic, communication professional, private equity investor, superhero with glasses, hat tip Clark Kent. Gil is always in a state of evolution, constantly finding purpose. But there is more. Food mentions. Ritesh Patel's Indian restaurant. Ritesh, shout out. Coffee topped with cake. French fry garnishes on salad. Parentheses, only one of these 3 was spoken about positively. I'm remembering this.
That's Ritesh's off restaurant, which I'm dying to go
to. That's right.
Sometime.
Oh, it was so delicious. Advice for entrepreneurs starts from minute 41, second 40. Study the existing marketplace and understand why it supports the existing modalities. 2, understand who pays for what. Do not assume that improvement is what the system wants. Protecting the system and what the system wants. 3, who advocates for what? Embrace the reality. I'm skipping some of the stuff to speed us up. Charge forward with boldness. Medicine is not a local practice. And 5, don't see the next person as a competitor. Think of the term co-opetition. There's nothing more meaningful than to help other people succeed. That's the quote that Dan Kendall extracted from Gil Bash. Wow. Kudos, Mr. Kendall. You're hired. You're hired as our review companion for every episode 10 that we're going to consider.
Yeah. Wow. Did we do all that? Did we claw all that out of him?
Exactly. That's the key. You guys pulled all that out of him. I mean, so I just wrote it down. You guys had that conversation. He delivered the goods, but you guys you opened up the mic and the platform for him to do it. So yeah.
He's a giver. He's a giver. He's a giver.
He's a great guy. I mean, I love Gil, and I learned a lot about him. I thought I knew him pretty well, but I learned more from that conversation about some of his background. And I'm looking forward to seeing him again so we can talk about some of those things. But yeah, such a great leader. Yeah, what is that?
Absolutely.
Number 2.
No, he's moving us on because we're
okay,
at 30. We're at like 30-ish and change minutes, so we got like maybe 10, 15-ish to go, maybe. But I think we can. So how do you want to do this? I think it's fantastic what you wrote, and I can just continue reading this. You can do it.
No. Look, in the interest of time, because I did not get a chance to put all of my notes into the YouTube.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Okay.
I think I've done it on the next couple ones. So people do go in and take subscribe to the YouTube channel.
That's right. So hit subscribe.
Hit the subscribe button and take a look. But yeah, the next guest, Nina Sossaman-Pogue. Am I saying that right?
Oh,
yes. She was great. We
knocked out of the park.
Flips.
I mean, a lot of your guests did here, but like when I listened to her, I was like, wow, all right. So she was talking about resilience and her background as a gymnast, and the books that she's written, the failure, and she made that great quote: "Failures are like A/B testing." She's written the book, "This is not the end: strategies to get you through the worst chapters of your life, but I want both: the working mom's guide to creating a life she loves." And she gave this great definition of resilience, which is adapt in a positive way and grow stronger through adversity. And I think you guys spoke about it a little bit then on that episode. I've spoken about it, where sometimes this resilience and this mental health thing is perceived by some who are older, particularly, who say, I think you, Jim, made the comment, I didn't know I had the option to say, no, I need to take a mental health day. I didn't know I had the option to say that. It's great that we're at a stage that we can do that. Mental health day doesn't mean that we can avoid things. Mental health is that we need to be able to address things and grow stronger through that adversity, pick ourselves up and dust ourselves off and meet those challenges and meet our commitments, as Nina said in that conversation. So that was a great interview you guys did with her as well.
I was inspired. I totally was inspired. I was pumped when I was just, it was like.
And her acronym, the COOL acronym, right? So there's a keynote that she does. So check out the COOL acronym keynote that she does. I'm sure you can YouTube it. Right. Laura and Dolphy. So we are kind of like typically have the digital health crew. Laura comes from this, I think she's self-described like sort of a mix between, there's a components that are digital, but it's really a biotech, but it's neither. It was
yeah, I love that. She was. It was a shout out to the biomedical engineers out there, and I come from an engineering background, so it was great to hear how she's sort of walked that line between not a drug and not a device, but really around a solution that allows that molecule to reach its target. And she described it in a really good way about how drug delivery is really a problem. You get it into if you can actually get a person to take a medication, then how does it actually get to its target inside the body? And being able to understand that was a really key thing. Now, Eugene, I should also mention that I began to do a little bit of a fashion take on this, and you have consistently 9 for 9, now 10 for 10, and probably 76 out of 76 been with a T-shirt on.
Right.
Jim, I think this is your second appearance with a jacket.
Right. Raising money.
Exactly. So I saw that "Lost Without You" shirt that Eugene was making was wearing in that episode. But yeah, so she was really interesting as well. So it was great to hear how you don't have to develop a device, you don't have to develop a molecule. You could just find a better way for those things to work, and you can make a career out of that.
Yep. She was bubbly.
Next one up. Yeah, definitely. And I think she was doing this out of it. She was in Italy at the time too, Naples. Right? So she's that's right, Naples, Italy. So that talk about commitment, right? Like she was on. It was also late in the evening. Next one. Talk about bubbly and energy. 4, Anna McKee. So I can't wait to see her here in Barcelona again. That's one shout out. Yeah. And talk about brain. She didn't wear the cap. Neuroelectrics.
So you were in Martha's Vineyard, and Jim and Eugene, you were headed into New York City, and that's why I'm here in the Matrix, because I was like, you guys have been all over the place, and I'm here in Tunbridge Wells, England. So I thought she was really interesting, and I realized actually as I was listening to her, I was like, I feel like I've met her before, and at a startup health event at the JPM meeting
2020
several years ago. We crossed paths and had a really good conversation, and she was talking about what she was doing. I thought it was great that that her partner is also her partner.
Right.
And I think that came up, the importance of relationships, and that came up with you guys. I know Eugene,
that's right.
You're having that work at home or work with your partner experience, but also Dale talked about it later in the series in terms of being upfront with your partner.
Right.
Now, Jim, also, I was sorry to hear that a friend of yours had Alzheimer's, but that seems to be, this is Alzheimer's Awareness Month, the month of September.
Oh, is it in this month? Okay.
And, so there's a lot of attention there. There's a couple of great books out that I've been in touch with some of the authors about creating the Alzheimer's version of Health Unmuted. But that's a massive problem. Unfortunately, it's been in my family as well. So I'm sorry to hear about your friend, but there's a lot of great research happening, and we all need to be more aware of how this impacts individuals and their families. So
she was just, I don't know, I gotta say this in the right way. I was going to call her a baller, but that's probably it's not the right word, but she was just full
of energy, just like.
And wasn't she on stage with Macron or something, or she was on stage?
That's right. Yeah. Macron.
Yep.
That's right.
She sat down at the beginning. She said, "Okay, how are we going to do this?"
Right.
All right. Yeah. Okay. So
we didn't stand a chance.
She's awesome.
But 100 billion neurons in the brain. So I learned a lot about the brain and the relationship between space and the brain, that she'd worked in space. Or on
no one's stopping her
problems before that.
That's right.
That's right.
All right.
Moving
5. On to Tobias.
Tobias. Yeah, I learned how to say Tobias properly.
Yes.
So I also learned that Maven was a $1 billion unicorn on that episode.
Okay.
And of course, Matthew Holt got to mention that as well. And Tobias had been to HIMSS, learned more about the startup ecosystem, and we talked about a bit about,
Accelerate, I think they're calling it.
yeah, exactly.
And I'm gonna beat on HIMSS because I always do. I think it's their attempt to revive Health 2.0, but I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry, HIMSS. There's it's not happening. So
Okay.
It's interesting.
no. I'm saying that nothing can replace Health 2.0. I don't care. I'm just being.
Are they trying to replace it? I mean, they acquired it.
Well, I mean, they acquired it, but I think it's, I think the brand is gone, and this the HIMSS Accelerate is sort of their new attempt at innovation and startups. But
you think like you gotta listen to Nina. Things have to grow through adversity and move on.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm all with you.
But it's interesting, like with someone like him, we were trying to claw some Vegas stories out of him, because I think we were just, that week we were like, a little bit of like travel or something, but we didn't get. He was very careful. We didn't get too like, so what's going on in Vegas? We were looking for.
No, to Tobias, actually, what I love the whole discussion on the health tech network, right? I think they've been able to. I think Tobias and some of the other partners, they've sort of spearheaded. I think there's like 1,000 members now in that network of entrepreneurs and VCs and all of that. So but I believe he talked quite heavily that rolled into the HIMSS Accelerate platform. Mm-hmm. So anyway,
yep.
So shout out to him. Next one, that's right, number six. Tim Jurgens.
Yeah, Jurgens.
Jurgens.
So Eugene, you mentioned at the beginning of that. I listened to this some time ago, so I don't recall all the details of this one. But I made a note that you said that you wore pants for that session with Glenn Tolman, and it made me wonder what are you. What are you wearing now? Is that why you've never walked away from the camera before in other episodes?
So it's okay for full transparency. I do wear pants on this. These are shorts.
No. Good to know.
Transparent shorts, maybe. No, because I think this was around the time, right, that I went into the city to host the fireside chat, and I actually had to dress up. Like I put a jacket on, I put jeans on that I haven't worn in I don't know how long, right? So I think that was the kickoff. But if that's all you took out of that, Tim, conversation.
No. So he showed how you can take a blood pressure by holding a finger over the camera of a phone, and I thought that was really interesting. That I know that these mobile devices are becoming more and more powerful in sensing, but there's when you can think about new ways to imagine typical things like cameras. That we're carrying, it really shows how powerful things are. He gave a big shout out to the Barcelona Health Hub community as well. But yeah, I didn't take as careful notes about that. Maybe I have him directly in the YouTube, but I listened to that one quite some time ago.
No, all good, but
he was a VC as well, right? Like he's
So Tim, went through, kind of. I joke around. I lost my hair. He kept it going through pharma and multitude of roles, and became a VC and. He was so he for full transparency, last time he's the lead and your coach, and he got kind of our vision in 30 seconds, literally. So
did he do some extraordinary amount of investments during this whole
so I think I don't remember the actual numbers, but it was in kind of count on one hand or less, and they more than doubled or something the number of investments, just sped things up, because I think the level of innovation. So that was an interesting point. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. Cool. Let's keep moving.
Dale Bierman.
Dale
was
Bierman.
Tim Jurgens, and then we got Dale Bierman. I love this guy. Another guy I last saw at the JP Morgan conference after the acquisition by United, the rebrand to Sunvelo. I interviewed him when he was at Think Pacifica, when he was talking about that company before the acquisition, the rebrand. But great to have him talk candidly about his own experience with substances and depression. Sorry that he had to go through it, but it's great to sort of lift the lid and let people know that someone that's as great and accomplished as he is
Right.
as much of a straight shooter from Wisconsin, that he's human. And we need to be able to talk about it and support each other through there. So I liked what he talked about. I think you talked about this in some subsequent episodes around exposure therapy that his partner went through, going to coffee shops with a $10 gift card and saying, "Can I watch these apps?" That's a real hack. And I was actually thinking about for Health Podcast Network, when we can get away from, not worrying about somebody standing too close to someone, but getting to the coffee shop myself is like, hey, test this out, go search for this podcast or whatever. So
but that whole idea, and also I think it's really interesting how, like you said, like the success, and then having these kind of either, mental health issues or substance, challenges, or all the stuff he went through, but he was having major success in his life. So it's not binary. It's not like, hey, you have these issues and you can't still achieve a lot. That was really cool.
Yep.
And his insights on the entrepreneur.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say the entrepreneurial journey, right? Because I think, we really got into kind of nitty gritty stuff and decision making, and we go through that all the time as entrepreneurs. So that was good.
Yeah. And the obsession over the end user, it was like everyone says that, of course, it's like, oh, we're all about the patient or the consumer or whatever, definition is, but you could just feel it coming through the screen. Like nothing was being built in his company that wasn't for the, there was no bullshit going in. It was
Yeah, and he talked about what he couldn't do. He had to go to academics because there were a lot of things that he couldn't compete in. And he was talking about having your back up against the wall. And where episode 2 in your season was talking about resilience, he was talking about persistence. Sometimes persistence won't get you through. Sometimes you need to find different ways of working. I think that's what Nina talked about in episode 2. You need to find different ways, because just the grit and determination won't get it done. But Dale talked about the grit and determination. He also mentioned our friend Steve Seuntjens and the support that he gave early on.
Fantastic.
Which showed that you're really investing in people, and they invested in Dale and Chris. Really great.
For me, that was special to hear Steve be mentioned, because Steve's obviously a great friend and just kind of present in a good way, and you feel like if you reach out to Steve, he'd be there for you. So you just feel like the importance of people, actors, these positive actors in the system, given a little capital, given some support. Really
I'll be the lucky one to give him the first out of at least the 3 of us the hug. He's coming into Barcelona tomorrow, so
good man, give him out for
the weekend. So
I'll give him a big... saw Steve was the last
in
trip
Barcelona
I took before COVID was in Barcelona, and we had dinner together with Aline Noisette,
and Jean Ledger was here. Right? Pardon? Gene Ledger also, or no?
Was Gene here? I think, Gene was there. Yes, Gene was there. Yeah, Gene Ledger was there.
Yeah.
All right,
let's
number
keep
8.
going.
Salome Tabibu.
Ooh, yeah.
Tabibu.
Yes.
So very dapper Jim Joyce. I wasn't only noticing what Eugene was wearing. Very dapper Jim Joyce on that one. She talked about her monthly newsletter that she's doing, and her background in behavior therapy.
Wow.
And again, speaking candidly about the real experiences that she had, that her family had, that they tried, and they realize that there has to be a better way. And there's lots of other people that are experiencing these things, and nobody's immune to this. I certainly have had that happen in my circles and in my family as well. So that was a great discovery. So thanks very much for bringing her on and talking about what she's doing and how she's impacting people.
One quick. Go ahead.
I say the insights to that kind of it's almost like, not to say make me seem too old here, but the insights of that generation, starting a company, dealing with it. It was just she was very insightful about, starting up these digital health ventures.
And again, turning what she went through into just this positive energy and teaching the world. I mean, if you think about it, it's like the who's who of behavioral health is at her conference now, right? So it's truly amazing to see, such talent. And Parissa Rissa.
Ooh. Yeah,
so this was great, because this actually echoed some of the work some of the information that I'd learned about from what Elsevier is doing in the pharmacy space. So hearing about what's happening, we've only talking, those of us who are working in healthcare for a while, and talking about the changes that need to happen, talking about community-based delivery of care. And here is a group of pharmacists that are exactly doing that. So to hear her experience and perspective around digital around pharmacy, around the interest that she has with people. I started to think, and maybe, you know, if we have a prediction section, this is something I'd love to see. I would love to see the the Genius Bar from Apple, or the Geek Squad of whoever it is who has that, Best Buy Geek Squad.
Best Buy, yeah.
Let's put that in a pharmacy.
Right.
Let's do that with digital tools.
Totally. And that's what she was saying. It was like such a great idea, such a great concept, and such an opportunity, right? Like that's where you would go. Like, where would you go to kind of play around and learn about things and, you know, and understand it? That's a fantastic idea.
How many people have we talked to about, you know, people wanting to get Apple Watches or Fitbits for their parents for Father's Day or Mother's Day or something, and they're like, oh, then I'm gonna have to get there to set it up, or I bought it for them 3 months ago and I need to go in and set it up and pair it with their phone and blah blah. And but what would happen if they actually went in, instead of just being a front door at the pharmacy to care, it's actually like a screen door, and the information can flow in and out through that screen door, and you only open up the screen door when you need to get into the front door of that care.
The question that I have is, which one is going to get there quicker? Is it Best Buy putting a pharmacy inside their store, or a CVS putting a Geek Squad in theirs?
No, it's Amazon putting it in Whole Foods.
Yeah, okay, fair. True. Good point.
The screen doors, the screen doors aren't very common in Ireland because they don't have the same kind of mosquito problem, and it rains a lot.
No, I get it. But listen, that's the wrap up, guys. Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to listen through all these things. I want to have everybody go back and watch all those great episodes, because I only just gave you a thimbleful, and you can have a whole cup. So
that was amazing. You are invited back to season 8, episode 10.
I love it here. Anytime. Love to see you guys.
That's awesome. Right. Fantastic to see you, my friend.
And for those that are sticking with us, hit subscribe button. Also check out healthunmuted.com.
Health Unmuted. Thank you, Dan.
All right, see you guys. Love you both. All right, see you.
Cheers.